element. We're gonna add some more features, get some basic admin controls working, stuff like that. So the admin stuff, I'm just gonna this player add action, and we can do t color equals r into b. So ban slash t. And we're going to say, whenever we ban someone, we send request. So I need to actually pull up add action. So let me get some music going too. Mr. Cat. There we go. I should try that text editor you found, and I'm actually going to. So let me pull that up. Loud. Yeah. Here it is. Download Windows installer. Okay, so while we're doing that, I'll just pull up this. So we have script, then we have arguments, priority, 0 is low priority, 6 is high priority. We're gonna do 6, so it's always at the top. Show window, if set to true, players see the title text. True, hide on use, true, shortcut. No shortcut. Condition, cursor target is kind of an and live cursor target and is player target and yeah, we'll do that. Condition radius max value 15. Max value is 15, so we'll just 15. Okay. This is just really a temporary thing. I don't want to design a whole admin menu yet, so type data. So we need type is going to be 1, right? Because it's spanning. Right? 0 is kicking, 1 is banning. And then their net ID is the parameter after that. Yeah. So data is inserted after. So net to ID cursor target. All send request. Or yeah. Hint banning target. Banning %1. Name cursor target. Okay. So that's the 2 admin controls for now. You just walk up to someone, scroll, click ban, or kick. Good song. So I can ignore admin stuff for now because that's done. I'm gonna move back onto the payload. So player GUID reason. Why do I pass player into the kick bar? Okay. So it doesn't matter because if you pass your, I guess with memory you could go around this, but again, I don't care for memory. So with scripting, you could not stop that. So we have our UI interrupt. I was working on some pseudocode. I came up with this, I think. Yeah, bad element to look into, but it was too many loops. So what I need is bad variable. So we're gonna have ly underscore. I'm gonna make this a little bit more in depth for these variable scans. And so what this is doing is it's saying the variable has to contain the string ly underscore and it has to start at index 0. So what that's saying is if the variable's like ly underscore init, for example, that would cause a kick. But if it was ALY underscore init, it would not cause a kick. So then with that, I could also say, well, I also don't want the variable to contain big, I don't know, not ESP, but we'll say God mode, right? We don't want the variable God mode, but I don't care how God mode is put into it. So I'll put a -1 there. And what that's saying is God mode could be anywhere. So if it's like A underscore God mode, B underscore God mode, stuff like that. God mode underscore A, anything that contains those letters. So I'll have to go through and do a display whitelist. We'll open the chat again. Alright, let's try this new editor. Let me set this up. I feel like I'm on a Mac. I can't tell it where to install anything. It just kind of says it's being installed. Alright. What we say? You have to go to File, Settings. What the fuck? Install? No. Oh, File. What? Okay, get rid of this welcome guide. Get rid of untitled. Config, I don't know. Oh, install. Look up SQF. Okay, there's 4,000 installs on this by AceMod, so that's definitely the one I want. So we'll install that. Nice. Okay. Close this. Close this. New window. I didn't want that. I don't know why that's even a feature, or even the top feature for that matter. Close tab. So. Go to scripting. Anticheats. They use, God, that tab spacing. Hang on. Settings. Editor. Can we edit the spacing for tabs? Tab length. Here we are. 4. Auto soft hard. Soft tabs. Hard tabs. Use hard tabs because I like hard tabs. There we go. That looks so much better. Right. Do I like this? I don't know what the fuck. Add project folder. Let me see this. Scripting. Where's scripting? There it is. Anti-cheats. Oh, that's kind of cool. I kind of like this actually. I mean, I don't like the syntax highlighting at all. I prefer the one that I custom made, like this. But I can always edit the colors if I really, really wanted to. You. Oh, that's kind of cool. They take coffee scripts for... That's kind of cool, actually. It'll help prevent me from missing things. I don't like them fucking red. It just doesn't look good to me. I prefer the darker colors. Well, we'll try to get used to it. We're gonna stick to this one. Let me also add... That sucks. New add project folder. Desolation Redux. Here we are. Yeah, there we go. That's kind of cool. I go here. Yeah, no, if you click on something, it gives it this italicized thing, and you know you're just editing that one file. That actually makes everything really easy to navigate. I like it. Nice find, moving in. Alright. Now that I gotta get used to a new syntax. Alright. Bannables. Train grid is bannable. I need to make these all really like toggles on and offs. So each of these really should be put in their own. These need to return true. Oh, they do, because true or false. So I didn't implement that. Exit equals call this. And then if is nil exit. How about if not is nil exit? So if I don't fuck up something, then if or exit equals false. That should actually say be continue. And you can't do equals errors like that. Not continue. Then that'll kill that thread whenever you're caught for cheating. So that'll keep it from, say it's going, the thread's going really fast, it will keep it from double banning you, which wouldn't work correctly and would cause issues. So that's done. I don't like how it doesn't keep those, or it does, it's just, it's weird. So if, alright, that's not a command yet. Let me see what commands they added last patch. So they added 162. Fly in height, get vehicle cargo, set vehicle, register remote exec func, get weapon sway. I wonder. I actually can't because I have to log in first. Fuck. I don't have Steam on this phone, so I gotta turn on my old phone. Oh. Okay. So, cancel. Need to just relog in. I'm wondering if get weapon sway and this other command that I was abusing, what was it called? Set custom aim coefficient. That's what it is. Set custom aim coefficient. If those are linked, because there is get custom aim coefficient, but it's not implemented yet. So I wonder if those are linked. Because get weapon sway doesn't have like a set weapon sway or anything like that. This went off. Skype. Virus. Look at this person. Okay, so that value just stops changing whenever you have. Okay. So what I can do, if I want to monitor to see if you're using no sway, is I need a what the editor is crashed. Reload. Well, I don't know why it crashed, but no sway check. UID, kick, ban, spawn. While true to last change equals 0. Wait until, or we should say sway equals, now if I don't have a weapon, if I don't have a weapon, I still have a weapon sway. What a good fucking game, alright. That makes my life easier. Sway equals get weapon sway player. Then wait until last change equals diag tick time. Let me say wait until sway is not equal to get weapon sway player, or diag underscore tick time greater than or equal to last change plus, we'll do 10 seconds. Do I sleep 0.01, or we'll say 1 second. Just have second delay between monitors. So if last change plus 10, this less than or equal to exit with weapon sway hack last 10 seconds without change in sway. all ban. Yeah, add that to our reds. There we go. No sway hack. Check. Ban equals system chat banned. Oh, there it goes. It works. See, it was working fine, and then I set my aim efficient to coefficient to 0, and now bans players. Oh. So Infostar, here's some pointers. No sway check. Yeah, moving guns, you're right about that. This does say that you have to have your no sway enabled for 10 seconds. So if you were to iterate between it, so every like 8 seconds or so, you were to turn your no sway off for like a second and then turn it back on. Problem is, if you did something like that, where you said, hey, return to an editor. Let me write something up so I can show an example. So if I go back to, gotta get used to Atom, dude. New file. I wish I could see. That's the problem with this. I can't set its language. Like, how do I set the language of the syntax? Oh, here it is. Plain text. SQF. There it goes. Okay. I figured it out. So I say spawn ban equals end mission fail. Then we say, we drop that code in there, right? And then we say spawn while true do player set custom aim coefficient 0 UI sleep 1, I mean 8, or we'll do 9. Player set custom aim or it's actually not safe to do it at 9, because if you're in the middle of a check, you could in theory get caught still. So really you should do it every like 1 second, just to make sure you don't get caught between checks. I sleep 1, because if you're caught between a check, like say you enable your coefficient like 2 seconds into this check. Well, actually, no, you're right. Because 2 seconds into the check would have just be stuck at this UI sleep 1. So we do that. So that could work. So let's try this. So you can see the cursor moves ever so slightly. If I set it right on the horizon there, let me just let it sit for a couple seconds. You can see it kind of move down into the horizon. So like, there is flaws to every check. Just like Invistar's unlimited ammo check, you put a proper delay in it, and Invistar's unlimited ammo doesn't work. So that would be the flaw for this check, and you could cut this time down, like probably 1 second, if that. And then that would help. We'll see, it still caught me whenever I alt-tabbed, but that wouldn't have done it if I was in multiplayer. So yeah, there's flaws to everything, but there's nothing I can do about that. There's just no way to tell unless you did a really fast check, in which case you can't be certain that the sway does change. Because if you're going, like, just like in a parabola, you're going down, and then you hit the bottom of it, the vertex, and then you go up again. Right when you hit that vertex, you may not move. Your cursor may not move for a second, or a 1/10 of a second. So if you're checking too fast, just doing that will cause you to get banned, and you can't get false positives. So with this, even with script lag, you're guaranteed to get through your check without a false positive. So yeah, that's done. Our beautiful no sway check. So we should really do toggles for these things now. So feature toggles. No. And what else do we have? We have recoil. So we should separate these up. Custom spawn menu, spawn screen. I don't know, I don't play Exile, but I do know I didn't really enjoy Exile spawn screen. That's one of the few things. So then we say what this does is it says if you have no sway turned on, we're going to include the no sway check, otherwise don't include any check here. It'll still have to iterate past that check, which could be seen as a plus or minus. I mean, I could, in theory, just create an array and use pushbacks. But for me, I don't see any negatives to this because, I mean, it's run on server startup, so it's not going to take too long. Grass check. And we don't want a semicolon. So interrupt UI change, I'm going to force on clients just because, sort of like an advertisement, it also prevents different UIs from being opened, so I can ban for them. Another great song. Okay. I'm happy where it is there, so I'm going to change the name of this to Desolation Development. So let's move Desolation. Delete these KBOs. If the client's ready to spawn, then create the unit. Give them the MP event handler. Set up their loadout. Let's do this first. The server, init server. Underscore. We need to add the enabled. I also need config desolation. Okay. Bold. If not enabled, shit. Then exit. Same with the client. I think I fucked something up in my anti-cheat. Hold on. Banning %1 with a plus. I'm not using a format. Okay. That's what I thought. I'd messed up. I'm gonna turn this down a bit. So item spawns. That's what we'll lay out a config for it. So items spawn. We need. Pull up Notepad++ for this. So we need different types. We need military, civilian, industrial, commercial, hospital, or we'll call it medical. Commercial, medical. What other building types are there? Help me out. Civilian represents residential. Nixon. Commercial would be like markets and stores. I guess there should be the mechanical stuff. Mechanical, so like, lay this out. Military buildings, houses, factories, shops, hospitals, like mechanic shops, car shop, let's say car shop, / repair shop, Really, really rare stuff. Like, okay, Nixon, the way I'm laying it out is going to be all a percentage and mathematic based. It's not going to be like, okay, pick, is this building going to be rare, this or that? If it's rare, spawn this rare loot. No, it's going to be, okay, in civilian houses, the rarest item you could possibly find is like an AR-15, for example. Yeah, probably not, but that's an example. So what you'll do is you'll say, okay, this AR-15 has a 0.01% chance of spawning. And so every couple hundred, maybe even 1,000 houses, you'll get an AR-15 to spawn in one. And that's the way it's going to work. So I'm going to like lay everything out based on like category, right? So there'll be like rare, semi-rare, average, semi-common, and common. And so that's the way it would lay out. And so say military buildings is civilian buildings, industrial. So you could say, okay, military buildings, it's more likely for you to get average, semi-common, and semi-rare stuff than it is for common and rare stuff. Just an example. I mean, sure, it could work out in little different ways. It's not going to be similar to their loot compiler because they built theirs based on industry standards, and I'm building mine based on what I did for Urban Warfare, which in here I should have it. I don't have the Genoa one set up yet, but I have Urban Warfare set up like this. So I have building types, military, industrial, residential. And those contain the building name and then loot positions in that building. Then you have loot types. We have high value, medium value, low value. And inside those we have weapons, magazines, gear, clothing. And then those have a number beside them, and that represents the rarity. So higher numbers are more likely to spawn than lower numbers. So, for example, in high value places, all these weapons have the same chance. But if we go to magazines, you're a lot more likely. It's a lot more likely that you'll find a smoke shell than a 200 round cased box. Because it's about 10 times more likely. So for every 10 smoke shells, you'll get one of these, or one of really any of these. So that's the way it works. And then this breaks down to, okay, so for military buildings, you have a 70% chance for any loot to spawn in that building. So there's like every 7 out of 10 buildings will have loot in it, but the 3 of those 10 buildings won't have any loot in it at all. Then the spawn chance. So for each spawn position, there's a 90% chance to spawn. Now, if the building only has 1 spawn position, then that's a 100% chance to spawn if we're spawning loot in that building. But if it has 2, for example, and we're spawning loot in that building, there's a 100% chance for 1 spawn position, and then every future spawn position has this spawn chance of 90. So if you have 10 spawn positions, there's a chance you'll only spawn 9 items. I'll get to that, Nixon. Type chance, so this is a type. So in military, you have a 65% chance for high value loot, 30% chance for medium value, and a 5% chance for low value. And then gear breaks it down even further to, okay, you have a 15% chance for a weapon, you have a 28% chance for a magazine, a 25% chance for gear, 20% chance for clothing, and 12 for backpacks. So that's the way it kind of breaks down. I was going to go a little bit more into detail. I kind of set up a basic limits and minimum piles system. So maximum weapons you can spawn in a pile is 1, or in a, it might be in a building, but I'm pretty sure, yeah, it's in a pile. So 1 weapon, 3 magazines, 3 gear, 2 clothing, and 1 backpack. And then minimum piles, every building that spawns has to have at least 1 pile. It does, and I was going to lay out all these percentage stuff whenever I do redesign it for Desolation as inside this config system. So like the way that this is laid out, I may rework this, but it'll be like military building spawn chance, something like that. Because I want to try to use these config settings as much as I can to try to standardize the use of configs in Desolation, rather than using this sort of layout, which is a lot more code-based and requires a little bit more knowledge of how to lay things out and how to code than just the standard config file would. But you said the range and despawn. So there's multiple ways it can work. It can work like the way that I had the loot spawner. The loot manager handles that. So it could work like this loot manager does. And what this does is it says whenever you get near a building, whatever, for every player on the map, whatever building is closest to that player within 50 meters, it's always within 50 meters because that's the limit on building nearest object. So whatever house is within 50 meters of that player, that is the closest, we check to see if there's loot spawned there, so spawn loot. Now this uses true or false because it only ever spawns loot once, but you could use a timer. So you could say, okay, was loot spawned there in the last 30 minutes? So if loot wasn't spawned there in the last 30 minutes, then you would go and say, okay, say that we just spawned loot now, so set that variable. And then if that building is within all buildings, which is parsed from this config, it's all of these buildings and these types. If it's a building that we can spawn loot in, we pass it into the spawn loot function, which does all the math and calculations and determines what loot to spawn. So we could do it like that. That's one way. Another way is that we do the range type thing, which is what everyone's used to. You walk into a city and all the loot spawns in the city. That creates a lag in a way, you know, when you walk into a city in any sort of survival mod, there's like a lag spike with all the loot spawning in. So it would create that, but it would be the same feel that everyone else gets. I don't like it. I like this other method better. But we could do it that way, or we could do it as in this loot manager. We say we take this loot manager and we have the timer. Instead of just, say you walk through a city, just leaving that loot in those buildings for other people to come by and pick up, what you would do is you would say, okay, set the timer for now, and then whenever a person comes by that wasn't you, just spawn a new thing of loot there, which is not right in my opinion either. And then there's one last thing we could do. We would continue to use that timer system, but we would also say, okay, this building, send it up to another thread on the server that says, okay, this building in 30 minutes, delete all the loot there. And so then the server handles deleting loot. So if, say, someone walks through a city and then goes across the map and they're the only one on the server, that loot left in that city gets deleted automatically by the server. That would require another thread on the server. It wouldn't be as much lag as the 50 meter one would. And it would, depending on how the server is played, how people move on the map, it could reduce lag or it could increase lag. So having that extra thread on the server could lower the overall script speed on the server, which it would do anyway, but that could be more noticeable than having the extra 50 loot objects sitting on the map, just sitting there, not doing anything. So it's something we'd have to play with. I don't like the 50 meter idea because of the fact you walk into a city. I mean, it was the same issue we had with Battle Royale whenever I was redesigning the loot system there. That's where I came up with this method, and it was absolutely rejected by PlayerUnknown, and even though it boosted performance by like 10 FPS. What would happen is we would walk into the city, and loot would spawn in the 50 meter radius of you. It would just continue to monitor around you, and every building around you that hadn't spawned loot would spawn loot. And so I said, that's just dumb There's no reason I should have to spawn loot in the building on the other side of the building I'm currently looking in, or looking at. There's no reason I should have to spawn loot there when I never even walked to that building. Say I walk down the middle of a street, all this loot spawns in the city, and I'm not even looking in the city for loot. I'm just walking through it. I think it's dumb. So what my method does is it says, okay, he's walking through the city, only spawn loot on the buildings that are on the street that he's on, instead of 2 streets over or 1 street over. And so that helps performance. But what it does do is, say you're looking inside one building and you look through the window of another to see, or yeah, you look through the window of another, or you look through the door of another to see if there's loot there, you wouldn't know unless you walk to that other building to find out. So that's the weakness of it. Now, if you had already walked past that building, or someone else had already walked past that building before you, loot could be there. That's the weakness of it. And the thread, what it would do is it would say, okay, wait 30 minutes, and then wait for all the players around it within a certain distance to be gone. And so that's what it would do, is it would say, okay, player walks by, spawns this loot pile, say this is the loot pile, it spawns this loot pile. Now, if someone's walking around, don't delete it. We'll wait until that person goes a certain distance away, then delete it. And then next time a person comes by, respawn, and wait 30 minutes. Delete it. That's the way it would work. What that would do, though, is if you built a base outside of, say, a small little city, a tiny little city, maybe 4 or 5 buildings, you could walk in the city, get some loot, right? Walk back to your base, which is a strategic distance away, wait 30 minutes, join back on the server, walk back to the city, there's your new loot. So that's what that would do. So I like the idea that Ben had, which was spawn loot once, never delete loot, leave it forever. That could affect performance, yes, because, junk loot gets spawned and no one picks it up. But what it does do is it increases the realism. You can't go to that city, get some loot, come back 30 minutes later, get a new pile of loot. It just doesn't happen that way. No, once there's loot in a building, that loot's in the building. So there's that. And then every restart, it would spawn new loot. It would say, okay, now if anyone walks in that city, spawn new loot. So then you would have to wait, instead of 30 minutes to go back and find new loot in the city, you'd have to wait till the next restart, say 4 hours later. And by whole city, I mean the 50-meter idea. That's what I was referencing to. Yeah, that was the idea. Yeah, it's something we would have to balance and do a lot of testing for. And we really have to come up with a decision soon of which system we'd rather have. The one that does that 50-meter with the lag spike and then a deletion. The one that creates it when you're next to a building and then stays there forever. The one that creates it near a building and gets deleted. We have to come up and lock down all these ideas beforehand. And then it's playing around with it to see what we can do to boost performance. So so I was actually doing something with that notepad. I was looking at here. So the item types, I mean, you really can't edit down the item types. We have weapons, magazines, gear, clothing. Well, you could actually, so weapons, handguns, food, drink, medical, junk, backpack, uniform, vest, helmet or hats, or aesthetics. I don't know how to spell it. Aesthetics. I don't know how to spell aesthetics. Cosmetics. We'll call it that. Cosmetics. And that'll be like hats, glasses, stuff like that. Items. Construction. These are just an assortment of different item types. Yeah, Nixon, I'll work on that after I come up with this list, because I'm gonna stop streaming after this list. So we have construction items, we have general items, construction items, medical items, junk items, drinks, foods, handguns, weapons, books, gonna need, so electronics, because different electronics will be usable. So like we could, if we decided which building we want to be an electronics store, for example, we could specifically spawn electronics there, stuff like that. Mechanical items, so like car jack. I don't know about car jacks being a specific item, so like car parts. Helmet is inside cosmetics, unless you want to do that separate. Helmets. Since you asked for the header, please read my PM during next year. Send a PM. I got it. Yeah, Lego, I have no idea what license we should use for the DLL. I'll talk to Ben about it, see if he knows, but if you have an idea, just pass it along to Ben. API, you're right, APLSA does not make any sense. I'll read up on those licenses and then let you know which one I think would be better, or if I find something else. Pass both those recommendations to Ben. General items, construction, books, electronics, mechanical. We have medical. And remember, all these items will be grouped into these categories. So we'll have rare weapons, rare medical items, rare cosmetics, stuff like that. I think that covers everything. I'm just gonna drop a question into the code work and tag everyone. Oh, dude, it's Peaks. What's up, Peaky? How did I start bleeding? Bleeding is started whenever you're shot. Or when inside the handle damage vent handler. Vents. Yeah. It's not in there actually, it's under... PS Funk on hit part received. Is that under bleeding? Yeah. So this is how you start bleeding. So there isn't going to be a start bleeding delete. There's just going to be stop bleeding, and I'll just add that into the config. So that's going to be under medical. Start or stop bleeding. Okay. That's weird then. I don't know. So I'm gonna push that up to GitHub, and then I'm gonna stop streaming. Changes, so config. Oh, a lot of the files that I've opened auto-edited. That's weird. Okay, so I'm done streaming, but I'll probably stream again tomorrow. Yeah, I'll see you guys.